these signs? J. So this is a common actually used in Thailand. Quite a bit of products. If you go to the market, also in restaurants, that indicate that the food will be as close to vegan as it possibly can be. Sometimes even a bit more with no onions and garlic, but it's actually a safe system. So if you go into any markets or anything, you want to look at any kind of packaging for this. Does everybody know what this one is? This is what's used in India. Now this is actually, we like to say, is a green light for vegetarian, but not necessarily vegan. Okay? But why we like to say it's a green light is because then that means you can pick up the product and you can read the label and see. So it gets you one step closer to having a vegan product. What's amazing in India, I think they've done an incredible job on it. I'm looking forward to the day when they even go a little bit further and making it a vegan sign. But it's actually on candies. Somebody had mentioned about candies like gummy bears and stuff like that. You can go into candy stores and they'll either have this, the green sign, or they'll have just the opposite, which is what? Red. Yeah. Which is also amazing. It's also on like soaps and shampoos and toothpaste. It's also on alcohol, which is quite amazing. So you can go into, if anybody drinks, you can go into a wine shop and you can actually look on their beer or their wine or their hard alcohol and there'll be a green dot. That being said, I'm going to do a kind of a shout out that the #1 beer in India is Kingfisher, which is not vegetarian, which is pretty amazing. The #1 beer. Why I say that is because, again, if you go into any wine shop or if you're at a market and you look at the symbol, you will not see the green dot. All the other beers practically are, except Kingfisher, which is the #1 selling beer in India. Okay, just so you know a little bit about us, there's 3 of us that actually started this, VegVoyages. We started about 12 years ago. We used to coordinate for films and media and news units in Southeast Asia and South Asia for about 15 years. And then we wanted to actually start getting into something we could believe in. So we wanted to keep towards our vegetarian beliefs, our animal rights beliefs. And we also, the one thing we still liked about what we used to do coordinating for film units and news units was bridging the cultural gaps. So we started back in 2005 with 3 trips in one country, in India and Rajasthan. We now do over 23 trips a year in 5 different countries. Why I want to say that, I don't think it's because we're necessarily doing a good job. I just hope that that's because there's more and more vegans in the world. It was actually started by my partner, is Singh. And then he is actually, we all come from 3 very hardcore, big-time non-vegetarian communities. If anybody's familiar with the Rajput community in India, they have a kind of a famous reputation of being hardcore, especially the men, hardcore non-vegetarians. So you see to the left of Mr. Singh, for our Indonesian friends here, she is Batak. And Bataks also have a reputation of being a pretty hardcore non-veg community. And I come from Texas. So we all 3 come from very non-veg communities, but we have been vegans for years. Why I want to say this is a lot of vegans, unfortunately, or vegetarians, they don't want to travel, or if they do want to travel, they want to play it safe. Safe means often going to just a tourist destination, tourist area. They come to Bangkok, they stay in Khao San Road. You're not going to learn anything about a local culture and an experience, and it's extremely important to. And the reason why is, does everybody know, if you're not familiar with Maya Angelou? She's an author, poet, and activist, and she said, perhaps travel cannot prevent bigotry, but by demonstrating that all peoples cry, laugh, eat, worry, and die, it can introduce the idea that if we try and understand each other, we may even become friends. Very important words to this day, I would say. Okay, but also importance of travel and cuisine. Why? Don't dismiss the dish by saying that it is just simple food. The blessed thing is an entire civilization in itself. Another great quote, history and culture offer us a vibrant living society that we see through cuisine. Cuisine, like language, is a great way, it's a gateway into learning about a local culture and the history of the destination that you're at. One of the biggest examples I like to bring up on that is trade in chilies. So everybody's familiar with chilies? Now chilies actually originated in the Americas, they believe. There's actually different theories on it, but this is the most consistent, over 7,000 years ago. It didn't make it to Asia until after Columbus landed in the Americas in 1492. At that time, pepper was very costly. So why that helped chilies take off? The Portuguese, after Columbus had arrived in the Americas in 1492, had three different chili types growing in Goa within 3 decades. And then that took off like wildfire. The Portuguese, as you know, were in Southeast Asia. They were big in the trade business. And it became a substitute for the very expensive pepper, black pepper. And it became a substitute. It had a lot of the same qualities. But a chili plant you could just grow and just use. So all of a sudden, at that time, pepper was worth its, they used to say, worth its weight in gold. So this actually kind of helped it get over. So if you understand now, chilies are actually very much a part of Southeast Asian cuisine, synonymous in South Asian cuisine, but that's actually where they originated. And that's just one story. So if you look at many, many different stories, cuisine is very reflective of the local culture, but also the interaction that that local culture has had with other people, and the influence in history and heritage can be seen through that. Okay, traveling vegan in South Asia and Southeast Asia and beyond, many people will say it's easy. That's not necessarily true. If you're out of the big cities or any place where Happy Cow doesn't already have a listing, then you're going to have a difficult time actually finding vegan food. Also, a lot of times if you go to restaurants that are non-vegetarian, especially in tourist areas, and they have a vegetarian menu, most likely those items that you'll be ordering on that are going to be non-vegetarian. The definition under that is, oh, they just don't have meat. Okay, but they're going to either have chicken broth, or they're going to have fish sauce, or oyster sauce. So it's actually quite difficult, okay? So, how to survive traveling, learning about a local culture, immersing yourself, and still keeping vegan. Well, by the way, this is batak food that we veganized. So this is, if anybody from our Indonesian friends, batak food is almost impossible to find any vegetarian. This is mong lao sum food. Learn local veg phrases. Very, very easy to do nowadays. Why is it so easy to do? Is because of the internet. You can get on there, you can Google, and you will find the phrases. International Vegetarian Union has phrases on their website. HappyCow.net has organized a bunch of phrases. And also the Veg Passport, Google. It's best to get also the script and just print it out or take a screenshot of it with you. It's very important because if you say you're vegetarian, again, it has many different definitions, and some people will just define that as not meaning that there's any meat in it. But there'll still be oyster sauce, there'll be chicken broth and all that in it. So, but if you start going down the list or showing the phrases, then people will understand what you're talking about. Never say I don't eat meat. That shouldn't even be in one of the phrases, because if you say I don't eat meat in the local language, again, that will mean you just won't have chunks of meat in your food. You'll still have a lot of non-vegetarian items. When ordering from the veg section at a non-veg restaurant, be specific. So when you say that you're vegetarian or show in the local phrases, also say that you don't have oyster sauce, chicken broth, milk. Make sure you're specific. They will know you are serious. Avoid, this is a big one, avoid curries, gravies, and sauces. If you're going out, unless you're at a vegetarian restaurant, do not order these. Most of the time, let's say, take for example, in Thailand, most of the curry pastes are already pre-made, and they're going to have shrimp paste in them, among other things. If you're in India, the gravy dishes in the curries are usually, if they're not just having a broth, they're going to already have a dairy product in them. They've all pre-made. This includes going to Thai restaurants in Europe or in the US, and they have a vegetarian section, and they say any of our dishes or curries can be made vegan or vegetarian just by substituting the meat with tofu. That is not true. Most of them, again, they do not make separate pastes. So you're going to be actually having non-vegetarian food. So the best way, unless you're at a vegetarian restaurant, avoid curries, gravy, and sauce dishes at a non-veg restaurant. Save the curry, gravy, and sauce dishes for when you're at a vegetarian restaurant. Avoid soups, always avoid soups. Unfortunately, there's many travel writers, guidebooks that say, oh, you just ordered a vegetable noodle soup. Wrong. What is that soup going to be made with? It's going to have a broth. The broth is either going to be from pork or chicken. Okay? So always avoid soups, unless, again, save that for when you're at a pure veg place. Rule number 6, avoid salads. This is very important. Many people think, oh, salad is the same. Hey, bet I'm going to have a great papaya salad. What's going to be in that papaya salad? This sauce, exactly. This goes for the cucumber salads, for any of the salads. Avoid them, unless you're at a vegetarian restaurant, or unless you're standing there right when they're making it and you can tell them not to put in the fish sauce. Okay? Very important. This actually even goes for back in the US. Most of the dressings are even at the salad bars and all that at big places, all are non-vegetarian, just for reference. Unless it's specifically indicated at being vegan. Okay, no ready-made. That's kind of the golden rule. Order dishes that need to be made from scratch, always fresh. So order something that's not like a curry-based or a soup-based or something that's already going to be pre-made at the beginning of the day or the day before. Where they need to make it from scratch, then they can take care of your special dietary needs and make sure they don't include all these extra things that you're accidentally going to get in your dish. Do your research and hunt out a local veg restaurant. Very important, and there's so many resources which I'm going to show you in a moment. You just take a little time to do that research before you go traveling, and it will save you hours, if not days, of frustrations or headaches, or just eating from nuts, almonds, and peanuts and stuff like that that you get from a mini mart. Okay, a few examples. Keeping safe as a vegan in India, we put a dose up there because usually they're going to make that, they're going to be safe. You just have to tell them no ghee or butter. But dose is kind of your best bet. Don't avoid all curries if you're a vegan, okay? Like myself. Though India is home to the world's largest vegetarian population by far, it's hard to find 100% vegan food. And again, at most restaurants throughout India, the curry bases are pre-made, and they will have dairy products in them, with exceptions, of course. It's also that not many people are aware about this, but India is the largest exporter of beef in the world. Beef includes buffalo. Kind of crazy. And what is fueling that for them to be the largest beef exporter in the world? They are also the largest milk producer. So what's happening to all those calves and cows as a byproduct of the dairy industry? Well, there is a population in India that does eat beef and buffalo, but it's not a large population, definitely not enough to keep up with milk production. So they are exporting them, and they are now the largest beef exporter in the world. Okay, so in India, avoid gravies, makhani, which is a butter dish, dal, naan. Everybody probably likes naan bread. Avoid it, okay? Unless you're at a place that specifically makes vegan naan. Naan is going to usually have either milk, curd, and sometimes also can have an egg, okay? Sweets, 90% of the sweets, actually probably much higher than that, but 90% of the sweets in India are going to have dairy, either milk or ghee or both, okay? In Thailand, Theravada Buddhism does not have an institutional vegetarian practice. So that being the case, it's not actually common. So go to a vegetarian restaurant. If you don't go to a vegetarian restaurant, then avoid curries, soup, noodles, and salads. Why noodles? Because the noodles, unless it's a rice noodle, a lot of time will also be made with egg. Okay? Also, the sauces that they will use in making it can contain fish sauce, can contain oyster sauce, can contain broth, so avoid those as well. Save those dishes for when you go to a vegetarian restaurant in Thailand, and there's some fantastic vegetarian restaurants in Thailand. Same rule goes for in Laos. And why I say here, many travel writers and guidebooks are right. I don't like to say right or wrong, but it's true. And unfortunately, a lot of the guidebooks are written by people that are not vegetarian or vegan or have a true understanding of it. And they put misinformation.